I want to get into COVID a little bit.
Yep.
Obviously, I don't want to spend much time talking about what you have done, because I feel like a lot of that ship has sailed. But I want to spend time talking about what you're going to do, and what you think the future of the industry looks like, and how we can come back stronger. That's really the theme I want to echo when we're
Yep.
talking about COVID, is like, how can we share knowledge and come back stronger? How can we choose to come back stronger?
Yep.
So real quick, how did COVID-19 affect you guys? Were you able to retain a lot of your employees? Did you have to lay off a bunch of people? Did you have to shut down or close temporarily? Like, what was the result?
Yes, all of those things. So at Tender Greens, we had a fairly healthy delivery and to-go business going into this. So unlike fine dining, we were already a little better positioned. So when we closed down our dining rooms, we were able to pivot to that form of business. It's, it's just a percentage of what we were doing before, but we did close down a handful of stores on the East Coast, a couple of locations in malls where the malls were basically closed. The rest of the locations we left open, but between the stores we closed and the skeleton crews we went down to, we laid off about half of our employees.
I mean, that's pretty good compared to what other people had to do. I mean, the fact that you're able to hang on to half is something,
Yeah.
So what's your plan for the future? I think that's really what people want to know. How are you adapting your businesses? What's your plan for the future?
Yep. So at Tender Greens, we pretty quickly launched into a line of grocery goods. And the way we went about it was, as consumers, there was lots of product we didn't have access to, right? We'd go to a grocery store and we couldn't get, eggs, milk, butter, meat products, fresh produce. And we knew that as consumers that we were frustrated by not being able to get to that foods. We also knew, because we're a restaurant that brings in whole fresh foods every single day, that there are farmers and food suppliers that suddenly had their supply chain completely cut off. Because with all the restaurants closing down, they've got like crops that they've grown. They've got like milk. They've got stuff that's just sitting there.
It's like we're getting into that, that freshness, that season of freshness, right? Well, maybe
That's right.
around, but in other parts of the country. So
basically, we wanted to find a way to get that food to consumers, which is why we created this grocery box, because it was like people are pouring out milk. People are, crops are going bad. So we created this product to try and meet that need. So what that means for the future for us, I think in creating that straight from the farm through our restaurants, putting these boxes together and getting that up to the consumer, we're learning a lot about what matters to people. And so we're looking at our menu, and when we reopen, we're looking at like, how does this evolve our menu long term? Are there products that we're selling today in this, COVID time that we weren't selling before that may stay on our menu permanently? And that's what we're looking at right now.
I think I don't know if if the whole grocery approach is going to have legs for a long term. I think that people are going to start slowly getting more confident going out. But I do think people are going to try to reduce how much they go out. They can go pick up, their lunch today, but they can also get leftovers and reduce, the amount of times they have to go. I think, what I'm saying? Like, how can we create something that lets our consumers have leftovers so they can reduce the amount of times they have to go out?
That's right. That's right.
I think that. What are you guys doing? Do you agree with that? Are you adapting?
Totally agree with it. So we have groceries, like proper groceries, like literally like a dozen eggs or a pound of butter. But we also have things like a full cooked steak, a full cooked chicken that serves 4. We have large venue salads. So you could create a whole family meal so you could literally buy what you would normally buy. Maybe you would buy a soup, or you'd buy like a regular salad, or you could buy from us a steak for 4. You could buy, a side of, quart of mashed potatoes, and you could buy, a Caesar salad from us. And where 2 months ago we didn't have that, you would buy an individual entree. Today we offer that, and you would now have food for your family for days.
Yeah. And
so that may stay, that may last.
Yeah, and I think that, the truth is, I mean, we're like, I think the split now is like 40% of all money spent on food is at restaurants now versus 60% of people. I can't remember the exact number, but we're almost at that 50-50 point.
Yep.
So there's a huge segment of people that have become accustomed to eating well and eating healthy. And now they're saying, nope, you can't go to restaurants. You got to go to grocery stores, but they suck at cooking. Or they don't know how to cook. They didn't have any stuff so they still want to be able to get somebody to cook for them, right? Yes. But in a way that is just much more effective, that they can stretch out over multiple meals.
Yes.
The convenience of that. I think that's where you're going to see a lot. Yes. I think it's a good thing. I really do, because I think that you're going to, this isn't my time to say what I think. What do you think is going to happen? Like, that's all.
Well, I do think people are experimenting more, right? People are, I mean, you can't find bread yeast anywhere, right? Like suddenly everyone in America is making bread. So people are experimenting more. I think people are going to find things they're good at, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be making all of their meals, right? They might be making certain things. They might be ordering parts of their meal. They might be, ordering, like I said, maybe they order a steak from us, but then they supplement it with the things they're good at making.
So I think it's just a matter of consumer behavior. Like,
that's right.
Paying attention to the new consumer behavior and filling those new voids that have been created within the market.
That's right. That's right.
So what else are you going to do to stay creative to serve your market, or things that you have already done that you can share with us?
Yeah. So we launched these grocery boxes. Then we actually created an a la carte format so that somebody could buy their traditional entree, but then they could also get a bag of onions or a bunch of bananas with their steak meal. We also, on Wednesday, are going to be launching, now that the laws have made it easier for us, bottled wine and 6-pack and 12 packs of beer. So that's another way in which you can get, again, maybe you're going to buy a steak dinner from us. Now you can get a bottle of wine too, which is also going to be a new behavior. And this has not been announced yet, but probably in about 2 weeks, we're going to be launching meal kits.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. I won't pull back too many layers on that. One thing I do want to know before we go to the speed round is, what do you think the future of the industry looks like? As far as, when do you think we're going to come out of this, your prediction? And also, when do you think we're going to come out of this? Answer that. And then also, I would love to know what you think needs to change. Now that we have this opportunity to reset, how do you want to come back stronger?
Yeah. So, God, I mean, this is a, multiple times a day conversation with so many restaurateurs. I think, taking your questions a little bit out of order, the thing that needs to change, I think the thing that we now know that it will be very hard for us to forget is germs, right? Like, I mean, the thing that's so bizarre about this COVID-19 and the fact that people can get sick is that I personally have been isolating with my family for over a month, and I haven't gotten sick at all. So, I mean, I have 2 kids in grammar school. We're sick all the time in this house, right? Somebody is always sick. Nobody's been sick. So that's sort of the mind-boggling thing for me, is that, like, great, we're avoiding getting this terrible virus, but we're not getting anything else, which means germs are real.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, so I think the thinking about germs and passing along germs and the hand washing and the clean, like I think our brains are going to be forever changed around our awareness of germs and other people. How that plays out is a mystery to me, especially when you think about things like bars where people are just like all over each other, I mean, so I think what that translates to in terms of going back and reopening, I think I think most responsible businesses will open slowly and cautiously. I think we're going to see a lot of places, and we already do see it in certain places in the South, where they're just going to open up, and I think they're going to see a resurgence, and then I think they're going to back up again, and they're going to end up doing that back and forth. Like, to me, that's a disaster. I would much rather open more slowly and cautiously and move into a more normalized economy than risk sort of like jumping the gun and end up having some sort of a relapse that I think would be terrible.
slowly reducing the restrictions, and you're already starting to see it with like grocery stores, right? And where it was
Yes.
really controlled, and now they're starting to get a little bit more lax with like, but in that time they were able to implement procedures within the store
Well, yes.
to
Yes.
to combat the likelihood of contracting something within the store. So we've adapted in different ways, so we don't necessarily. So I think that's what you're going to see is like you said, just like that slow, it's going to be a
Yep.
pendulum swinging back.
Yes.
What do you think needs to change about the industry? That's one thing I'm really curious. If we can come back stronger, what's one thing that if we all get on the same page today about this is what's wrong with our industry and this is what we need to do collectively to make it better, and we can make that change now, what's that look like?
Well, I mean, going into this crisis, the restaurant industry, let's be honest, was already in a bit of a crisis. It was a crisis of saturation, too much competition. I would say probably too much mediocre product. Probably restaurants that maybe shouldn't have existed in the first place because they weren't offering something unique and special. And I think some of what happens when we get out of this, hoping that the majority of restaurants survive, I'm hoping that the ones that survive because they really are offering something unique and special. They're offering a great product. They're offering great service. They're doing interesting different things that maybe weren't done before. So I think we all have to look at sort of why we were existing in the first place and what we need to do to justify that existence. So I think what comes out of this is that people sort of double down on what they're good at. And the businesses that maybe shouldn't have been around and maybe weren't, staying current with the times or didn't have something special, maybe those businesses retire and allow some of these sort of better quality restaurants to thrive.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I've said that with, it's hard to say this without getting people to hate you because so many people are going through so much shit right now. And it's just like, you got to be sympathetic and empathetic for what people are going through. But at the same time, like you said, it was an oversaturated market that was being, like money is just being pumped into this industry.
That's right.
Especially because retail is going away. Like it's only natural that you're transitioning to the restaurant world because retail is going away,
Yep, that's right.
And because of that, like you said, or like these retailers or these property owners are just pumping money into the restaurant industry.
Yep.
It's not realistic. So I think it's a good thing that like the cream of the crop's rising to the top. It's going to make us only stronger and better. And it's sad that some people are losing their careers, but maybe you weren't meant to be here in the first place. If you didn't, and it sounds cold, but there's a certain, because of where we were, it's kind of a good thing that the market's being.
There is going to be a bit of a survival of the fittest for sure.
Yeah.